Good Tuesday afternoon to you. Hope you're having a great day. Thanks for joining us on Sports4CLE. Browns now 7-9 on the season after losing in Pittsburgh to the Steelers on Monday night. So we will talk plenty about that Browns game against the Steelers, as well as the Browns finale against the Cincinnati Bengals. A little bit later in the show, we will be joined by Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter for the Plain Dealer, as well as cleveland.com. Kevin Stefanski met with the media today, and out of that meeting came word Baker Mayfield will not play in that season finale against the Bengals, instead opting to sit it out, getting ready to have surgery sooner rather than later. Here's Kevin Stefanski on the decision to sit Baker Mayfield.
Baker won't play in this last game. We're going to hold him out. He's going to get surgery scheduled and really as soon as possible, so that he can, get back healthy as soon as possible. Throughout this whole thing, we have tried to make the right decision based on all the information available to us, constant dialogue with our medical staff, with Baker, all those type of things, and throughout, have really felt comfortable based on all that information that he was able to play and those type of things. So obviously frustrated for him, but just felt like that was the right thing to do for right now.
Again, Kevin Stefanski today talking about the decision for Baker Mayfield not to play. And Baker Mayfield, 9 sacks, did not look good against the Steelers. Here is Baker Mayfield last night, post-game against the Steelers, just where he is physically.
It was a rough day overall. A lot of batted passes. Just not a very pretty day. It's not going to always be pretty or smooth, but I'm a fighter. If anybody ever questions how much I want it, just turn on this tape. It wasn't pretty, but I kept going, kept swinging. That's who I am, and that's what I've continued to be. That's how I've always been. So I don't really have much else for you. There's an opportunity to win. I'm an extremely competitive guy. I think you guys know that. But I think now it's time for me to start, looking at what's in the best interest for me and my health. I've continued to lay it out on the line when I haven't been healthy and tried to fight for our guys. And right now, I'm pretty damn beat up, to be honest with you. And there's no way around it. I gave it everything I had tonight.
And that's definitely the case. Baker Mayfield opting to not play in the season finale. Can't blame him. He will have surgery on the shoulder as soon as they can get it scheduled. And as far as recovery for that surgery goes, Jake Trotter tweeting out that the expectation would be that Baker Mayfield would be ready for OTAs. And there you see it per the source. Expected recovery timeline from the left shoulder surgery, again, his non-throwing shoulder, for Baker Mayfield to be ready for OTAs. Let's welcome in Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer, as well as cleveland.com. And Hayden, I think it's the right decision. I think Baker Mayfield should get this done as soon as he can to give himself as much of a chance to be ready to go as early in the offseason as possible.
Yeah, given, all that he's dealt with this year and the last game kind of, not even being a chance to be over 500, and there's really nothing left. And honestly, the way he was handled against the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think there is no choice for him but to say, I'm done. I got to go do what's best for me. And we'll probably get to this, but I thought the way he was handled on Monday night was completely irresponsible in a lot of ways. And, I didn't think it was a very good look for the coach. And so I don't blame him at all for saying, I got to go now. I don't blame him at all for not wanting to play in the last game. I don't blame him at all for looking out for his best interests. I don't blame him at all for any of it, because last night was not good by any stretch. And certainly he didn't play well, but there were some circumstances that were outside of his control that I thought really put him in a bad spot.
Yeah, hard to argue with that. Let's take a look again. This tweet from Jake Trotter. 10 straight incompletions, longest in the NFL since Sam Darnold's. 10 straight. Week 7 of 2019, that was the Seeing Ghosts game on Monday Night Football. Hayden, and you've alluded to this in your previous comment, just some takeaways. They weren't helping James Hudson out at tackle, and you're asking him to block T.J. Watt. And TJ Watt's eyes just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger as the night went on because they weren't doing much to help out the rookie right tackle.
No, they weren't. And Baker Mayfield was probably seeing ghosts last night too. I really believe that. I mean, to have TJ Watt in your face and to have as much pressure as they got on Baker Mayfield, his confidence did not look high. A lot of batted passes, and some of that's on the offensive line, some of that's on Baker. I think that his confidence last night was in a bad place. I think his mind was in a bad place. I think he was seeing ghosts. I think he was, feeling all kinds of pressure from all over. And I give the defensive, coordinator for the Steelers and their defensive staff credit for getting after Baker Mayfield and exploiting the situation that was presented. But yeah, you could just tell Baker was not comfortable whatsoever last night. He was not in a good place, while the game was still kind of in reach. It was tough to watch, really. So there's going to be some questions going into the offseason, and we'll see how it all turns out. But last night, I think Baker's, not the confident, cocky quarterback we know him to be. I think he's a shell of himself, be it through the injury, be it through just, the way that the Steelers attacked him last night. It was not a good look.
Having said that, the defense played pretty well again. I know the point total is not exactly what you'd want after they added the late touchdown. But given the struggles of the offense, that defense really gave the Browns every opportunity to win the game and kept them in it for the most part when the offense was struggling so badly.
Yeah, I mean, they held the run pretty well till the end there. Big Ben was not completing any passes. They put a ton of pressure on him. I think Joe Woods is kind of one of the unsung heroes of this season. I mean, because, for as bad as the season it's been, I think Joe Woods has progressively gotten a lot better. I think this defense has progressively gotten a lot better, whereas the offense has progressively gotten a lot worse. So I give Joe Woods a ton of credit for another great game plan. Big Ben won the game, sure, but I mean, threw for like 123 yards and 24 completions. I mean, he didn't do anything through the air in that regard. So I really give a lot of credit to the defense. I give credit to Myles Garrett for fighting it out. I give credit to Jadeveon Clowney for getting after it, pressuring the quarterback. Yes, he had the the penalty, but, I think this defense has really stepped up, and I'm excited to see what they can be in the future.
And important to note, the defense kept losing pieces as that game went along, and they were still able to plug people in there. MJ Stewart might be a guy that his development is overlooked. He's looked really good whenever they've put him on the field.
Yeah, he's had a fantastic year in a lot of ways. Come in and been reliable, come in and made plays, come in and been, that's what you need from a guy who's not necessarily a starter, but a guy who can come in and provide starters energy, provide starters, production. MJ Stewart's been one of the revelations of this season. Denzel Ward, Greedy Williams, Greg Newsome have all been good at times, and Denzel have been great at times, and Greg Newsome been great at times. But MJ Stewart's really produced when those guys have been out. You love what you see from him, and that's kind of the culture that they're trying to build on defense. And then Kevin Stefanski has kind of tried to instill in this team being tough, smart, and accountable. Being ready to go when your numbers are called on, next man up mentality. So I give MJ Stewart a ton of credit.
Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, we head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about Baker Mayfield. We'll also take a look at the highest graded Browns from last night according to Pro Football Focus. A lot of them on the defensive side of the ball. Not a surprise at all about that. Sports4CLE. We'll be right back talking more Browns Steelers. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions. Lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine, too late at night, but feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery, partners in education, where stars shine.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
And educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams, I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
We continue talking Browns at now 7-9 on the year after that loss to the Steelers. Monday Night Football in Pittsburgh, Ben Roethlisberger's last home game. Time to head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one on Baker Mayfield.
Hi, Dave. This is Ron Byer. Dave, in all the years I've called in, first to Les Levine's show and now to your show, I have given my opinion both positive and negative about the Cleveland Browns, my major love of all Cleveland sports teams. So now I would like to give my opinion in the Baker Mayfield situation. What passion Baker has shown toward football and the playing of quarterback has shown very positively with Game 2 of this year. Up to that point, he has always been the underdog, trying to prove everyone, including himself, he was better. And he reached that goal. In my opinion, Baker is a good quarterback when healthy. He could be a very good quarterback with the right team around him and is 100% healthy. So after Game 2 and the injury occurred, I wish he had a family member who was stronger than he is, or more importantly, someone on the Browns organization who Baker liked, admired, and confided in, and most importantly, had the power to shut him down, and he should have had surgery after Game 2. Because of the major non-action of the Browns organization after Game 2, he has now led to the drama of this season.
And let's welcome in Hayden Grove. And Hayden, again, Baker wanted to go out there. I don't know if it would have been Game 2, but at some point during the season, I'm looking at it going, man, he just doesn't look right. And I don't think he looked right all year. And I know he tried to fight through it. I get where Ron's going with that, though.
Dave, I mean, it's not rocket science. Baker Mayfield is paid to play football. He's paid to be out there and to be ready. He's paid to want to go out there to help his teammates. He's paid to be a leader. He's paid to be the captain of the offense. If I have a quarterback on my football team that doesn't want to go out there, that says, you know what, I don't think it's a good idea, then that's a quarterback I don't want on my football team. Baker Mayfield is the exact kind of person and leader you want on your football team. So it was the responsibility of a coach, a front office member, or a medical staff member to say, listen, Baker, we know you want to be out there. We get it, and that's what we want from you. But we don't believe that you are at your best right now. We don't believe that it's for your best interest and for the best interest of this football team for you to be out there. We want you to get healthy over a month, over 2 months, whatever. We're going to let Case Keenum play. That's what we brought him here to do. Now, that being said, I think there's a problem in that, I think Baker, even not healthy, is a better option than Case Keenum. But, it's not Baker's responsibility to come out of the game. In fact, it's his responsibility to go into the game and to say, I am ready to play. I want to put myself out there. I want to sacrifice my teammates. That's just how the game goes. That's how it's instilled in us as children, and maybe in the next generation it won't be, but certainly that's how it was for us and for our generation. So I completely put that on the front office, on the medical staff, and from others not named Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield did exactly what he needed to do to be out there to play, to give his team a shot every week. And if they felt that he wasn't ready to go and he was hurting the team, then that's on them to sit him down, not on Baker Mayfield.
Yep, I would agree. But you know what? He surely did not look like himself pretty much all year. All right. Let's listen to Colin Cowherd. And again, Colin Cowherd, I like him. I think he's talented. Most times when he talks about Baker Mayfield and teams moving on from quarterbacks, I disagree with him. Let's listen to Colin Cowherd on teams that have moved on from quarterbacks.
It's all about standards for Cleveland now. Ohio guy, you can take Darlene for a corn dog and a beer tonight, but why don't you make a reservation at a nice restaurant? For once in your life, have standards. The Rams moved off Jared Goff. He'd been to a Super Bowl. They moved off Jared Goff. Jared Goff's record in Los Angeles was 42-27. Standards. They moved off him. Kansas City moved off Alex Smith. They were going to the playoffs with him. Alex Smith, 50-26. They moved off him. It's called standards. McVay and Andy Reid. Jimmy Garoppolo has been to a Super Bowl, led entering the fourth against Patrick Mahomes, is 30-14, and they're moving off him. And you're defending Baker.
All right, and again, I think Colin Cowherd is very talented. I think he's good. With Jared Goff, they traded for Matthew Stafford. With they had Mahomes waiting behind Alex Smith. So they had already drafted him and sat him down for an entire year, being Mahomes with Alex Smith. And with Jimmy Garoppolo, they went and drafted Trey Lance in the top 5. The Browns don't have anybody there waiting. That's why they were playing Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I love Colin with the I'm trying to find the right word, demeaning, like, oh, Ohio boy comment. But anyway, I don't necessarily think he's wrong in that. Yeah, I mean, Baker's numbers haven't helped him. But a year ago, they're sitting here and saying, okay, Baker Mayfield was 11-5, improved in his third year, finally had some semblance of consistency within the organization. There was no talk of this. And then all of a sudden now you move off him. I mean, okay, based on this year, I would move off him too, but it's not based off of 1 year. Again, that's the whole thing. We're looking at a body of work here. We're looking at everything. We're looking at an entire, 4-year career. And I think 3 of those years he's been very, very serviceable. Yes, the second year he threw a lot of picks. Yes, the second year there were a lot of issues with Freddie Kitchens. His first year he had the best rookie quarterback season ever. And his third year he led Cleveland to its first playoff win in over 20 years. I'm not saying he's perfect, but again, there's no Matthew Stafford waiting out there. There's no, there's no draft pick, as you said. So again, I'd be more than willing to bring in a draft pick if there was a guy that I really like to go compete with Baker Mayfield next year. But there's just not that person. There's talk about Kirk Cousins. I don't think Kirk Cousins does anything to propel this franchise towards a Super Bowl. I think if anything, Kirk Cousins maybe even, keeps them either in neutral or brings them even back further a little bit, because there are things that Baker Mayfield can do that Kirk Cousins can't do. So it's just, there's nobody out there. You're right. Maybe a guy like Derek Carr could potentially be out there and be a guy you look at. Russell Wilson's not coming to Cleveland. Aaron Rodgers isn't coming to Cleveland. It's a tougher situation being in Cleveland and being in this situation than it is being in LA and getting Matt Stafford, or being in San Francisco and getting a quarterback in the top 5. I mean, and having Patrick Mahomes, who a lot of teams passed on as well. So it's a very difficult situation. I feel badly for Baker Mayfield. I do. He doesn't deserve what's happening right now, given what he's been through in Cleveland. And, I hope it works out for him. I do.
Yeah, and the other thing that's happening now is people are coming out with, landing spots for Baker Mayfield. And the thing is, Baker Mayfield, if the Browns decide to move on from him, he'll be playing in the NFL. There are enough teams that would be interested in him, and this is, CBS Sports.com. Landing spots in 2022 from Baker Mayfield if the Browns or Baker Mayfield decide they want to move on from one another. Now, the Browns did pick up the 5th-year option, so that there is that. But they list the Houston Texans, Washington football team, the Denver Broncos. So those are all teams that are looking for NFL caliber quarterbacks, 1, 2, and 3. Then you get into the Broncos, they're looking as well. The Seahawks, that would be Russell Wilson. Saints, Sean Payton, that would be an interesting marriage. and then you also have the Giants and the Panthers. So basically, CBS Sports is saying anybody that's looking for a NFL caliber quarterback would be a landing spot for Baker Mayfield.
Sure, Baker's going to go and start somewhere. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. I mean, given an offseason of rest on that shoulder, given surgery coming up this week, there's no doubt he's going to be a starter wherever he lands next, and he deserves that opportunity given, what he's done in Cleveland outside of this year. This year has been an abject disaster in a lot of ways, and I think that Baker Mayfield certainly deserves some of the criticism for that. Hasn't played well at times. But a lot of things have not gone his way, be it injury, be it, Kevin Stefanski taking a major step back, a lot of injury, a lot of bad situations. Hell, if the Browns have Baker Mayfield for the Raiders game, maybe we're not even having this conversation. Maybe the Browns are, 9-7 looking to win the division at 10-7 next week against the Cincinnati Bengals. So it's been a abject disaster of a year. And I completely believe that if the Browns move on from Baker Mayfield, and I honestly think it might be best for Baker Mayfield to move on from the Browns right now. Mentally, he seems drained. He seems, crazy. He doesn't seem himself. So maybe, I wish him the best wherever he goes next, because I think he's going to be super successful wherever he goes next. I think that's what he's always done. Maybe Cleveland was his Texas Tech, where he started and then, moved on and really elevated. And I think that's what he's going to do. I think he's going to find a ton of success elsewhere.
All right, so let's look at the highest graded Browns according to Pro Football Focus from last night's game, and it's not a big surprise that a lot of them are on the defensive side of the ball, all of them except for Wyatt Teller. So you got A.J. Green, M.J. Stewart. Those are kind of fill-ins in the secondary. The rookie Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, third ranked at 80.5. Myles Garrett on one leg, coming in at a 77.8, and then Anthony Walker and Wyatt Teller at 74.4. Again, those kind of numbers kind of back up the thought that we had earlier, Hayden, that the defense actually played pretty well against the Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, they were in the right spots. Again, I give Joe Woods a ton of credit. He game planned very, very well. Had guys in the right spots, had guys in great opportunities to make plays. I mean, you look at Denzel Ward, Brady Williams, you look at Greg Newsome, you look at MJ Stewart, AJ Green. I mean, these guys played really well, and they were in the right locations. They Big Ben gave them opportunities to make tackles, and they made them. So I give a ton of credit to the secondary. I give a ton of credit to Joe Woods and what he was able to do against Big Ben, getting him to get rid of the football, getting him to make short throws and giving guys opportunities to tackle in front of the sticks. So I can't say enough about the job that Joe Woods has done this year. I think he's taken massive steps forward, whereas the rest of the team has taken massive steps back.
Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer, as well as cleveland.com, and I are going to step aside, take a quick timeout. On the other side of the break, Baker Mayfield got sacked a ton. We'll look exactly where that ranks, and it's very high up in Browns history. We'll also hear what some national people think about the Browns and the quarterback situation. Kevin Stefanski also talking about what the Browns can do to limit the number of sacks. Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions. Lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine. Too late at night. But feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery, partners in education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns after that Monday night loss to the Steelers, now 7-9 on the year. Dominique Foxworth, the former defensive back in the NFL, now on ESPN's Get Up, on what he thinks the Browns should do with Baker Mayfield.
I don't think they have much of a choice. I think right now, given the options that they have, Baker should be the starting quarterback next year. If you look back at his history, while he's never been like a top 5 in the league quarterback, or he's never quite lived up to the #1 overall pick, he has been good. The idea that Baker Mayfield can't be mediocre to slightly above average, I think, is absurd. He can do that. He's shown the ability to do that when he's healthy, and hopefully the rest of the team, frankly, can step up also. The defense didn't live up to the hype. The receiving core didn't quite live up to the hype that we thought early in the season. The only thing that kind of worked out for them was that running attack, which is about the running backs and the offensive line. So I think they bring Baker back. Stefanski goes back to the play action and run stuff that he knew works well, and hopefully a healthy Baker making consistently good decisions, which includes throwing the ball away when you're under pressure and not getting sacked from behind and getting hurt. Like, all that stuff is part of it. If they can coach some of that stuff out of him, maybe they can get him back to the pretty good Baker that he was at one point, and everyone else can step up and they can be the team that we all thought they were going to be this season.
And Hayden Grove, what Dominique Foxworth says makes a lot of sense. You also saw the record through 59 games and where Baker Mayfield sits, right there with Peyton Manning, right there with Jim Kelly. Back in the old days, if you will, quarterbacks went to teams that weren't very good. That's how they got good quarterbacks, and you usually struggled for a season or two. And there's the look at it. He's 29-39. Peyton Manning 30-29. Jim Kelly, the same record as Baker Mayfield. Phil Simms, who won a Super Bowl, the same record, and Joe Theismann 30-29, like Peyton Manning. Those are the first 59 games of pretty good NFL quarterbacks who went to and won Super Bowls.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think that's the way of the NFL anymore. That there's no patience, there's no development. I mean, I think with Baker Mayfield, this year was a lost year in a lot of ways because you couldn't really develop him because his mechanics were going to be messed up anyways because that shoulder harness was bringing him down. And yes, this year was about toughing it out and was about mental toughness for Baker. I think he's, like I said, I think he's going to develop and to get better from this because this was an abject disaster from coaching, from front office down to coaching, down to the players. So, the thing that I disagree with about Dominique Foxworth is that, I think that they could bring him back. I don't think it's in anyone's best interest to. I don't think it's in the best interest of Baker Mayfield to come back to Cleveland, given the way that, he is mentally right now. I think that, he probably would do a lot better with the fresh start instead of having another make it or break it year in terms of a contract. The Browns don't seem to be on Baker Mayfield's team. They want somebody a little more polished, a little more ready to take them to the heights that they think they can, excel to next year. So I don't know if there's a makeup inevitable here. I think it's more of a inevitable breakup. And I think that the Browns are going to lose out on a guy that, did a lot for them, and he's going to do a lot for some other franchise.
Well, that's fair enough. I get the whole a new start thing would be best for Baker Mayfield, but you got to tell me what the option for the Browns is, and I'm not sure that I buy Jimmy Garoppolo as an upgrade. Derek Carr, I'll listen to. You might be able to convince me. Kirk Cousins, again. You're not getting the Kirk Cousins that won a bunch of games in Kevin Stefanski's system, 4 or 5 years ago. You're getting a guy that's advanced in age in Kirk Cousins as well and has a couple more miles on him from being beaten on a couple more years.
Yeah, but I mean, again, he ran Kevin Stefanski's offense well, and I think that's what Kevin wants. I think Kevin wants a quarterback that's gonna fit perfectly into his offense. I think Kevin thinks that his offense is the be all end all, and But there's been signs that it works, definitely. But a lot of it, I think, is archaic. I think a lot of it is too old school. I'm an old school guy myself. But, this last game, especially, just put a bad taste in my mouth with Kevin Stefanski. And I think he's going to have to earn it back for me in terms of, being a guy who can take this franchise to back to the playoffs. And if they want to win a Super Bowl, I don't know if they can do it with the current group. I don't think they can do it with a quarterback like Kirk Cousins. I don't think they can do it with this offense, given, you have Patrick Mahomes who plays backyard football, Joe Burrow who's playing backyard football, Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen playing backyard football. The team that does it better than the Browns is the Titans. They play the way the Browns should play, and the Titans don't even have, the kind of offense that Cleveland does, and I think they have some better weapons. So it's a tough thing, and I hope that there's a way that the Browns can figure this out and get to where they need to go, because with Nick Chubb, with Myles Garrett, these guys aren't getting younger. You kind of have a little window here, and I hope that they can find a way to compete for a Super Bowl within the next 4 years with whoever's on the roster.
So Baker Mayfield sacked 9 times last night, and again, keep in mind that's a beat-up Baker Mayfield that took the 9 sacks. Most sacks allowed in a game in franchise history. I remember '84. That was Paul McDonald. Bernie Kosar was the quarterback in '92. That was against Indianapolis. Baker Mayfield tied for 3rd. That was Robert Griffin III and Cody Kessler in 2016 that took the 9 sacks against the Chargers. But that's how much they struggled, and those offensive lines didn't have the talent that the Browns' offensive line currently has. Having said that, you did have the rookie right tackle that wasn't getting a lot of help yesterday.
Yeah, I put it all on the offensive line.
No, it's
I'm
not.
I'm going to put it a little bit on on the scheme that the Steelers ran. I'm going to put it a little bit on Baker Mayfield just not being confident last night whatsoever in what he was seeing. I'm going to put it a little bit on the rookie right tackle, and I'm going to put it a little bit on the coaching staff. It was just, I think that at times it looked, I'm going to give most of the blame to on the right tackle situation to the coaching staff, because it just seemed like they had no answers for TJ Watt, and seemingly Myles Garrett, who I think is just as talented as TJ Watt, hasn't had a sack in like 3 weeks. Yes, he's hurt, but it's because guys are double and triple teaming him. So you're just going to leave TJ Watt on an island against a rookie. I think there's no excuse for Kevin Stefanski in that regard. You got to be smarter than that. You got to at least give your quarterback the opportunity to help himself, to get some help over there. It was brutal last night. Sacks are on everybody. The NFL is the team. It's a team game. Football is on everybody. And, I can't really single out the offensive line for that. I can't really single out Baker Mayfield for that. I think it's a combination effort last night.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I'm just saying, when you have a offensive line that is as talented as the Browns' offensive line is, it's kind of shocking when a team is able to get 9 sacks. The other 3 offensive lines in that 16, 92, and 84, you didn't have the 3 guys that are really, really among the best in the league in the interior. They were a little leaky, if you will. And I'm old enough to remember those offensive lines as well. All right, Kevin Stefanski talked about what we're talking about now, trying to limit those sacks. Here's Kevin Stefanski from earlier today.
Schedule would have is probably the number one thing. We were just in way too many 3rd or 4th and 7 and long. That was frustrating. And then we just it's always multifaceted, Scott. It's a combination of getting the ball out, of making sure that we're playing on time, that everybody's doing their job. So it just was, again, not what we set out to do in any way. And ultimately, that's something that we need to correct.
And again, Hayden, that's another valid point. When you get in 3rd and long, and now you have that rookie right tackle, it just makes it that much more difficult. Are you gonna pull one less guy out? Max protect? Then you're opening a whole nother set of issues by being in 3rd and 4th and long.
Yeah, they did it all night. And for a lot of reasons. I mean, start the game, Hooper drop, Hooper false start, and then Baker's passes, 8, I think it was like 6 or 7 in a row, got batted down, and then, it was an avalanche of things. They just seemed completely unprepared. They seemed completely listless in the game. And, it seemed like at least Baker, had some fire and some drive. It seemed like Nick Chubb had some fire and some drive and wanted to play. I can't say the same for a lot of other guys. It didn't seem that way. I'm not saying they didn't, but it didn't seem that way. So again, I just have a lot of questions about what happened this game. I really do. I thought there was this way to salvage this season and to salvage, the way you look at the offseason. And last night was an abject disaster offensively for so many reasons. And I think, the finger pointing goes around. Yes, some of the batted passes were on Baker. Yes, some of the issues in the offensive line were on were exacerbated by Baker, stepping up in the pocket and not having confidence and not making throws. Yes, but also the game plan was bad. The decision making was bad. The, lack of help, in getting your quarterback kind of any protection was bad. It was an abject disaster, and it makes you feel a lot worse about everything in regards to this Browns offense, which I think is going to look very, very different next season.
Hayden Grove and I are going to step aside and take a timeout. On the other side of the break, we'll continue talking Browns offense and recapping a little bit of this Pittsburgh Steelers game. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions. Lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine. Too late at night. But feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns coming off that loss Monday night to the Steelers in Pittsburgh, Ben Roethlisberger's final home game in Heinz Field. Baker Mayfield, post-game last night, talked on if the offense was put in a position to succeed yesterday with James Hudson at right tackle, but also the entire year.
I'm not going to get into too many details about that as a full season evaluation. We've obviously been pretty banged up. I believe in James. This isn't, I pray to God that you guys don't spin this into something where I'm criticizing James Hudson. That's not what I'm doing. We're talking about an all-pro that he's going up against, and he's hasn't had very many starts. So I'm proud of James. He kept swinging. He kept fighting. Now, when it comes to, what we've had to deal with all season, there's been a lot of ups and downs. Do I believe I could play better? Absolutely. Do I believe there's positions that we as an offense could have been put in that are better? Absolutely. There's so many critiques throughout the year. If there wasn't, we wouldn't be sitting here at 7-9. So it is what it is.
And Hayden Grove, you kind of foreshadowed last segment where I was going with this. I think this offense is going to look drastically different next season. I think it has to. Do you agree, or do you think they just run it back and say, man, the scheme is the scheme?
No, I think, like I said, I think there's a divorce coming between Baker and Kevin Stefanski. And it might be best for both. I think it's probably going to be better for Baker than it is for the Browns, but I think that's coming. I think Austin Hooper is on his way out. I think that the contract that he's given, the 4 years, $40 million, to be a part of this bigger part of this offense, he just hasn't been there. And last night, be it as it may, I just don't think his role is big enough to warrant the contract that he's gotten. And that's not his fault. I mean, go make your money, but I don't see Jarvis Landry back. Given everything that happened with Odell Beckham Jr. You could be in a situation where Dearness Johnson isn't back. Jack Conklin, a lot of money spent on that position. He's been hurt. I mean, hopefully he's back. I think that'll bolster them. But I think the offense is going to look drastically different. David Njoku is a guy I would spend some money on. This is shocking that I'm saying that because, 2 years ago I would have said, get out of here or he's not doing anything and things change. And I get that. He is a matchup nightmare. He is a very, very athletic player. And I think he's definitely committed to this organization and to this city. And I love that for him. And I'm proud of him that he's kind of taken steps in his own accord to get the job done. I think Harrison Bryant obviously will be back, and I think you might have a new center and Nick Harris next year, J.C. Treader, some money there, but so I think it's going to look definitely different in terms of personnel. I think the scheme is the scheme. I don't see much changing there. Yes, there's going to be new wrinkles here and there. That happens every year. You have to do that. But the scheme is the scheme. They love their tight ends. They're going to run the football because they're damn good at it, which makes even last night even more perplexing that they didn't do it more often. So I think that next year is going to look drastically different in a lot of different ways. I don't foresee Alex Van Pelt being back. I don't see Case Keenum being back. So it's going to be a very, very different unit offensively for Cleveland.
Well, Kevin Stefanski, we heard Baker Mayfield and, kind of questioning a little bit about the offense. Kevin Stefanski talked about, Baker's criticism of the offense and the play calling.
I think it's just something when you don't accomplish what you want to accomplish, people are certainly frustrated. We'll always look at what we could do better. There were plenty of times that we did have a person and location to chip and those type of things. Then other times, protection held up and ultimately we didn't get the ball out or guys weren't open or whatever it was. It's always a multifaceted type of thing, but that's our job to look at and try and find a way to be better. I think for all of us, Mary Kay, I just think we were, at times as a team, we've been very, very inconsistent this season as an offense, certainly. So all things that we'll look at long-term here once the season's over and have a chance to look at all of it. But certainly there's frustrations there.
And Hayden, I would say the passing game has to change some because, yes, some people are open and Baker's not finding them. But, man, you got to find a way to be more effective in the pass game in the NFL these days. I know you run the ball effectively. You're still going to need to throw the ball to beat some of the elite teams.
Yeah, I mean, it's just there's no downfield threat. I think they threw one deep pass this year to Donovan Peoples-Jones that meant anything. I mean, the verticality in the pass game was lost. Maybe that's a little bit on Baker. Maybe that's a little bit on the shoulder or whatever. But Kevin Stefanski, again, is saying the ball's got to come out. Okay, I get it. I get the ball's got to come out. But when you're looking at ghosts and when you're feeling pressure that you felt all night, and when you're trying not to get the ball batted down, yeah, I mean, it's a little. I can see why Baker Mayfield was a little herky-jerky in the pass game. I mean, it makes sense. It's not rocket science. Baker's better than what we've seen this year. I have no doubt about that. So, whoever the quarterback is next year, you got to find a downfield threat. Anthony Schwartz was hurt most of the year, yes, but I mean, are you really scared of Anthony Schwartz? I don't know. You ran Odell out of town with the offense, and Odell ran himself out of town, I guess you could say. Jarvis is probably not going to be back, so your underneath threat's going to be gone. Donovan Peoples-Jones is not a speed threat. Good receiver, can catch the ball, good ball skills, but not a speed threat. You got to add something to this receiver group, and you got to add some more speed and athleticism because I just think they tremendously missed it. And I think Kevin Stefanski, again, didn't do a good enough job getting the ball, trying to get the ball down the field consistently.
Fair enough. Hayden Grove and I are going to step aside, take a time out. On the other side of the break, we head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. We'll also hear from Kevin Stefanski on if Baker Mayfield playing this year put the team in the best position to win? Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Thanks for buying a fishing license. I want you to picture all of the great things this simple purchase does. Like building public boat ramps, keeping local waters clean, and maintaining a healthy fish population.
What's Mom doing?
When you buy a fishing license, you do a lot. Every dollar protects and maintains your local waterways for future generations to enjoy. Visit takemefishing.org.
We continue talking Browns after that tough loss to the Steelers Monday night in Pittsburgh. Time to head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about the problems with the offense.
I was watching you guys saying how we need receivers and stuff, and I do agree we need some receivers. But the receivers that we have, they're going to get traded. They're going to go to some other place, and they're going to do just fine. Our problem was Baker Mayfield. He doesn't go through progressions very well, which is a problem. He stares at the receiver he's going to throw the ball to, which constantly gets them injured and, gets the ball picked off. And thirdly, he doesn't step up into the pocket very well. And fourthly, he can't run when he needs to. There were so many open holes that Baker could have ran through that probably would have helped us win the game, and he just didn't do it. Our problem is Baker Mayfield.
Hayden, you and I have talked about this, and I think we disagree. Again, Baker Mayfield hasn't played well. The receivers, I think you said it best. Jarvis Landry is playing with a sprained MCL. Donovan Peoples-Jones isn't a deep threat. Anthony Schwartz is a third-round pick who didn't get to play a lot. None of those receivers threaten the defense, and none of them really fight for the ball the way an elite receiver does in the air. Donovan Peoples-Jones is getting there, but they need to upgrade the receiving position.
Yeah, and the problem is that when you look at potentially trying to bring in an elite receiver, you're going to point to, well, Stephon Diggs, well, OBJ, well, Jarvis. I mean, in Kevin Stefanski's offense, they're not as well used. I mean, yeah, you can go get a tight end, and that's great, but they're going to have to draft well. They're going to have to draft well and develop well, because they're not going to go out and find people that are willing to come in via free agency. It's just, that's not going to happen. It's been proven now. So I like Hollywood Higgins. I don't know what's been going on with him. I don't know why he hasn't been on the field more. I don't know why he hasn't been as reliable this season. It's DPJ. I have a lot of faith in, but he's not a number one. I think he's probably more number two, number three, maybe in the lines of a Hollywood Higgins. Just because he's not really a deep threat. Maybe he's a number one, but he's not a deep threat. And then, you got to draft somebody. You got to draft 2 or 3 receivers, I think. If you want to have a chance to get your guys the ball out there, be it Baker at the quarterback position or Kirk Cousins or Derek Carr or whoever it is. You got to go get the job done. As a GM, Andrew Berry's got to get receivers in there, because I think the majority of the group is going to be out next year. If you really look at it, I don't see Higgins coming back. I don't see Jarvis coming back. Odell's already gone. Anthony Schwartz will come back, I suppose. But, it's interesting. It's really interesting to see, what's going to happen with this receiver group this season.
Well, Kevin Stefanski, again, was asked earlier today if playing Baker Mayfield, this season through being banged up, put the Browns in the best position to win games.
I think it's a fair question. I think postseason we can really look at the season-long performance and have those type of discussions. But like I said earlier, just each week trying to make the right decision for the team, for the player, for the players, plural, based on the information we had available to us.
And that's been the consistent answer and message. But again, to your point, they don't seem to be enamored with one another at this point.
No, not at all. I think there's something there. I like to listen. I've been there in terms of not. You can have respect for your coach. I think Baker Mayfield respects Kevin Stefanski and not want anything to do with his offense, not want anything to do with playing in his offense. And I think that's kind of where they're at. So, and Kevin Stefanski can have, every desire to not want Baker Mayfield to be his quarterback. So it's tough. It's a tough situation. I don't know how it devolved to this, but just some of the shots that Kevin Stefanski was taking today, some of the shots that Baker Mayfield took yesterday, it seems like it's not a good space. And I don't foresee either one of them reaching out the olive branch and saying, hey, we can make this work. I don't see that happening. So, somebody, I think it was Jake Trotter of ESPN, asked Kevin Stefanski, if you're not willing to put Nick Chubb in the game with a rib injury, then why is Baker Mayfield out there with all of his injuries and getting, demolished by the Steelers? It seems to be a little bit of a double standard. It seems to be a little bit of a double standard. So, like I said earlier, it's not Baker's job to want to sit. It's his job to be ready to play, to be in a position to where he feels he can help the team. And it's the team's job to say, okay, Baker, this injury, we get it. We get that you're not feeling well. So let's just take it a week at a time, and let's see how that range of motion is, and move on from there.
Yeah, and maybe that's what it's been. I haven't been able to put my finger on it, and I had said yesterday, something just seemed a little off pretty much all year, from about week 6 or 7 on with the team, and maybe that's what it is. I don't have the insight. It just something wasn't quite right from about week 6 or 7 on. All right, let's take a look at this screen grab, and Hayden, we've alluded to it a little bit. Baker just didn't seem as confident, and again, this went down as a T.J. Watt sack. So T.J. Watt's on the right, and he's going to come in and he is going to sack Baker Mayfield. But you see, Peoples-Jones is open, Jarvis is. There's 3 wide receivers open, and I show you this not to beat up on Baker Mayfield, but to show you he's just not confident in what he sees now, and that leads to what we saw last night. Again, that went down as a sack with 3 guys open.
Yeah, I think he is confident in what he sees, and that he sees T.J. Watt on the right-hand side, breathing down his neck. I mean, it really is when you play the position. I mean, things are so much different than they appear. I mean, yeah, that looks like T.J. Watt's, good 3-4 feet away and being blocked, but when he's been in your face all night and you're having nightmares about him, then your confidence is rattled. Your ability to see down the field is rattled. It's definitely a rattling feeling. I don't care if you're, it's happened to Tom Brady. It's happened to Peyton Manning. It's happened to some of the greats. Sam Darnold sees ghosts, and it's a real thing. It's a reality. If your mentals aren't there and you can start to see things that aren't there. So, Baker Mayfield had a couple of guys open, and with T.J. Watt breathing down his neck all night, and then the ball's getting batted down. I'm sure he was seeing all kinds of things out there. I'm sure he was seeing arms that weren't there. I'm sure he was seeing, the guys that weren't there. It's a tough situation, and I give the Steelers a ton of credit for getting after him and making him feel that way. And I give Kevin Stefanski a big old F for not helping Baker Mayfield to feel better about the plays that he was making, because I think there were a couple of throws. I think one of the best throws of the game was a play action pass from Baker to DPJ. Just easy, simple play action. Fake the handoff, DPJ over the middle. It got him into scoring range, scored him a touchdown. They did not do any of that, any whatsoever, I think, the rest of the way. So I give a lot of blame to Kevin Stefanski. And obviously, if your quarterback scene goes, if he's not playing well, there's no doubt. So I just think that they could have done a lot more for Baker in that game, and I think the game plan was just a complete disaster.
Hayden Grove and I take one more time out. On the other side of the break, we'll continue talking Browns and wrap this one up. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions. Lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine. Too late at night, but feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
Time to head back to the voicemail of truth and reason. Again, this one about the Browns.
Browns offense certainly seems to be broken, and they're making the Browns look like the same old Browns. Well, what has to be done to correct this next season?
And Hayden Grove, that's $1 million question, and we've kind of gone around it. I think you need to upgrade the wide receiving core, and you need better play from the quarterback position, be it Baker Mayfield or whomever you bring in.
A lot of things. I don't foresee. I need better play from better play calling, more running. I need a lot of things. So, I don't foresee it immediately getting a lot better. I don't. It's just the reality. So, you've got to do a deep dive in this offense, kind of dissect it from the, and maybe the influence of some sort of balance between the archaics and kind of some new school stuff that that I know that he knows, but just doesn't use as much.
Well, the other thing, so CBS Sports, one thing we learned about each team in Week 17, and from the Browns, Kevin Stefanski has issues. Entire offense folded against Pittsburgh Monday night, and continued inexplicable commitment to winning with Baker Mayfield's arm. And again, that's one of the things we've talked about kind of quite a bit today, is just continued to throw the ball when it just wasn't working.
I think there's only one answer. I do. I think that Kevin Stefanski wanted to put Baker Mayfield on display for the whole world to see, for what he is or what he isn't. And I think it's remarkably unfair to Baker, who has put himself, instead of taking the rest of the year off and getting that surgery and, healing up and getting ready for another contract year after this year, he busted his ass, played every game that he could, fought through all kinds of injuries, be it through the shoulder, be it the knee, be it the foot, played through them all. And in the last game of the season, in front of the entire nation on Monday Night Football, the quarterback or the coach decides to throw the ball, 35 times, doesn't get the running game involved, puts everything on Baker Mayfield, doesn't get him the protection that, he would need against an adequate and an amazing player in TJ Watt. I think it was remarkably unfair to a guy who has done a lot for the city of Cleveland, who has done a lot for the Browns franchise, who has, had great moments and has been a good quarterback at times. To put your quarterback, who's definitely not 100% in that situation last night, I think was remarkably unfair. And I think Kevin Stefanski is going to have to do a lot to earn my respect back. I think he's a good coach, but I think last night was pretty bad in a lot of different ways.
Hayden Grove, thanks so much for the time and insight. Appreciate you hanging with us. Thanks very much, Hayden.
Absolutely, guys. Happy New Year.
All right, Happy New Year. Hayden Grove, again, you can read him, Pages the Plain Dealer, and you can also see him on cleveland.com. That's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. We will see you back here tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow at 4 on Sports for CLE.